Thanks, Tim. Hi, I'm at Rafi Magno.
You're
Um,
Rafi. You came from Naga pa? Oh,
yeah.
that's you. He flew all the way from Naga. Wala lang.
Yes.
You were also
Effort.
there. I forgot to put you
Yeah.
out. Rafi
Thanks,
Magno was
Josh.
one of the force, the
Josh, for
26 force
inviting me.
multipliers.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, that's at Rafi Magno. And I also blog. And please, yes, I'm a blogger. I won't settle na tawagin na akong blogger lang because I don't call our senators senator lang. All right. But anyway, um, um, with all the stuff said kanina, I would just like to reiterate this, especially because the perspective earlier was with the government kasi. So ito naman with the bloggers, with the netizens talaga. So does the inclusion of the libel clause affect the dynamics of social media, especially the crowdsourcing and the freedom of and the free discussion of netizens about different issues like mining, RH bill, FOI, etc., etc.
Maria?
I think, frankly, it depends on implementation and the maturity level of our government officials who will be implementing it. There are many things that are wrong with it. I mean, people have pointed out the things that are wrong with the existing law itself in the real world. And we at Rappler had actually been talking about this. Let me just answer quickly. I think this is a huge debate. I think we should talk about it. I think we should act on it. But separately from that, will it interfere with anything that I pointed out, or even the whole fight between good and evil, the way we should behave? Absolutely not. You can call it an act. It could be it's an irritant, because there's so many more of us on social media now that you can actually influence the debate. And as we've seen, our legislators, our government officials actually listen. So part of it is for us to also organize in a way that makes it more meaningful. I don't think the law itself will stop it. I think the government will have to figure out what it means exactly and how they will act on it. And it's going to be interesting. The first person who actually tries to use that law against the law for libel against someone on the internet.
Chris, would you want to add anything?
Wala namang, no, okay, no. It will not change our interaction. Bali, ang ginawa lang naman ng batas is to levy a heavier sanction, di ba? Yun lang naman. Recognizing the differences. Tapos, ano ba yung problema? Meron naman na yan dati, di ba? We have libel, slander. Yung penalty lang yung different, di ba? And then, ano ba yun? So I think that the fear is quite unfounded because may guidelines set by law eh, di ba? Before, parang, it doesn't affect free speech kasi there is no such thing as unbridled speech. Everything has a limit, di ba? So you can't just say everything you want. Even before this law was in place, you were not allowed to say anything you wanted kasi may limits. You will be held liable for what? Slander if it's orally made, and then libel if it has some degree of permanence. So ganun lang din ngayon. Tama, di ba? Ano ba yung ano ba yung when will you be liable for this? Well, same guidelines. If your statement, it doesn't have to be a statement. If your picture, for example, is calculated to cause embarrassment, defamation, if it maligns the reputation, basta if it harms, di ba, the individual in a non-physical way, then you will be held accountable for that. And so, ano yung fear ninyo na you won't be able to express, di ba? You can still express whatever it is you want, but just be mindful of the limits. Because if you traverse that, my God, you will be liable for libel. Ako naman, ang belief ko, even before this law, even before cyber law, yung libel is applicable already. Kasi, ang sinasabi lang naman niya, analogous cases. Computer is not included there in the enumeration. Internet is also not included in the enumeration. But it does say in any other analogous cases. And ganun lang din yun. It's just a different medium. But thankfully now, it's clear. It's clearer. And penalty is, I like the penalty. Diba?
What is the penalty, Chris?
It's prisión mayor. Meaning,
Which means
you may be incarcerated for 6 years and a day
6
to
years.
to
6
a
years.
couple of more years. The thing about it is, if it's beyond 6 months, that means you will be saved the hassle of going to trial by a preliminary investigation requirement. That means the investigator will first determine whether there is a reasonable ground to believe that you did a crime. So, hindi siya, may proseso eh, di ba? Have we forgotten about due process of law? Have we forgotten about, parang, ano ba? Yun, sige ma'am.
No, I think though, Chris, what it shows is the level of distrust of processes and of the people implementing. I think that might be what it is. But again, it's too soon to tell. Although we have a senator, T.G. Gangona, actually said he felt it was unconstitutional. So that's a question. But again, we've seen excesses, and thank you for sharing with us. We've seen excesses. There are excesses, but there have been excesses on all sides, frankly.
Hey, ma'am, I agree with you. Ang tanong dyan talaga is yung implementation, di ba? It's not with the law, it's with the implementation. Kung ganun yung argument natin, lahat na lang ng law unconstitutional, di ba? Kasi yung fear natin it doesn't lie within the nature of the law, but really the implementation aspect of the law. Ganun lang yung fear natin. So, yan. And that abuse is, if there is an abuse like that, it's actionable also. So, may proseso pa rin.
So like right now, Chris, like for somebody, if somebody like say bashed you or like put out a libelous statement on Twitter, you can actually sue the person for that.
Yes, and the beauty about this law is yung kung people can no longer hide behind this veil of anonymity. Diba? This facility provided them by social media, for example, because right now the law the law gives our law enforcers the technical know-how to pierce the veil of anonymity. So you cannot just hide behind that veil because the law enforcers are to be equipped with the know-how to address and look for you. They can find out who you are.
So kahit itlog, kayang hanapin.
Oh, at saka walang problema doon kasi yung content, in fact, under the law, I've read the law, I studied the law, the content is not disturbed. In fact, if they ask Smart, for example, to disclose information, the information will be limited to things that are not based, that have nothing to do with content. But only the bandwidth, hindi ko alam yun, manonospeed ako, bandwidth, yung duration, yung mga ganun lang, clues. Just so ma-identify nila kung sino tong tao. Pero yung content, hindi ibibigay ng Smart unless there's a court order. Again, we are very much protected.
Okay, I have another question. The three of you spoke about trolls and bashers, and you have different responses to these trolls and bashers. At what point do you decide that you engage or you ignore?
Honestly, I think very much connected to Maria's presentation based on your mood. As mababaw as that. If you're in a vulnerable, sensitive mood and you felt hurt, papatulan mo eh. But if you're sort of in a deadma mood and you really don't care, even if it's kind of serious, you don't pay attention to it. Usually, you can pay attention to those nga that present themselves like a human being. If they say it nicely, if they presented their case well, then they deserve a reply. But yung another term I just learned from Becky Mon, mema sabi lang, yun you don't engage. Yeah, I heard that.
I'm on Bianca's side in terms of it depends on the comment. As a journalist, oftentimes if it's about ideas, if it's questions that are important, I always respond, actually. I spend too much time on Twitter, probably. But I think where you draw the line is when it becomes trivial, insulting. Again, and this is where I've had to, you can see we're in different stages, but I'm not as far as Chris because he's had a horrific experience in the sense that as a journalist, reputation is everything. And I've built my reputation over nearly 30 years. And, when someone easily bashes without any real semblance in reality, I will try to engage to try to understand, but sometimes it really is just feel. And at that point, then you move on. I can't imagine how many you had, and that must have been hard to. The other thing is this, when you get a basher, remember you've got elevated levels of dopamine and oxytocin already also. So when you respond, you're not as rational as you think you are. So it's a give and take all the time. And strangely enough, our entire community, if you pull up again, has changed in nature on Twitter. The people who were on Twitter early in 2007, there's one of our guys at Morocco Yui always says, it was so different in 2007 because the boom in Twitter really just happened in the last year and a half for Filipinos, and the character of the nature of people changes. The group determines so many things. And so if you don't stand up as a dissenter, when you see someone bullying someone else, all it takes is one person to stand up and say, yo, you're doing the wrong thing. And the crowd will come and beat up the person who's bullying. So it's just like in the real world, when you see someone ripping off someone's wallet, are you going to stand by and watch? Or are you going to go in and help? Those same things, I think, are playing online.
Chris, anything to add?
Yun, I agree with Bianca and Miss Maria Ressa that you just have to ignore. Sa case ko naman, ang dami kong na-ignore, di ba? Siguro, 1 million, hindi ko na pinapansin. No? Pinasa ko lang, pero hindi ko na pinatulan. Pero, yun na nga. Ngayon, nung pagtuming yung habagat, meron ako napatulan. Kasi, as Bianca said, depende sa mood mo ng time na yun. Nagpipigil ka, pero yung time na yun, siguro okay. Parang sinabi ko sa kanya, thank you. Pero yung comment kasi niya, para tumigil yung habagat, let's sacrifice Christopher Lau's lifeless body to the gods. So medyo, nung time na yun siguro mainit yung ulo ko. So nag-reply ako, pero mabait pa rin. Tapos yun nga lang, nung nag-reply ako, napansin niya, ay naku, pinatulan ako. So ayun na, barrage na of negative comments. And then he was asking his friends also to barrage me. So doon ako nagkamali. So dapat wag yun ang patulan. Just ignore.
Well, ako naman, no, Chris, I can relate to you. Well, of course, I've been also blogged about, there's been so many instances, my name has been played with, each letter has a particular meaning. Alam mo yan? Tanginang mukha yan, ang pangit, pogi, Photoshop, pretty, lahat na pwede, But really, I've gotten used to it, and I take it with a grain of salt. And for me, it always helps to have a sense of humor. So I laugh at it, I laugh at it, and I find ways on how these things can make me better. Immediately, say after I debut as a host of a particular show, I would look. It's not like I would Google myself, but I'd look at myself in the what's happening page, and I'd see all of the people's negative and positive comments, and address the negative ones, and tell them thank you for your honest criticism, and I intend to be better at what I do. I feel I'm very self-aware, so hindi ako na rattle when negative comments come my way. But again, use everything. Use even the shittiest things people say to you to make you better. Like, as a plant, diba? When look at yourself like a plant, and how do you grow? You reach towards the sun. When shit happens, use the shit and use it to fertilize your soil. Diba?
I like that. Okay. From social media to fertilizer. Okay. I love
Yes.
that.
Okay, we have some questions. Okay.
One last maybe?
Yes. I thought make it 2 last. For Chris, what was the first thing that you did when you were cyber bullied, Chris?
First thing that I did was to assess the situation. So that was that was an error on my part. I shouldn't have really looked at the comments, read the articles. I looked at the video. Well, I cried right away when I saw that there was this video being spread online, and the video had a libelous caption already. So that already set the tone as to what would come. So yeah, I just cried, and but I kept reading. I kept reading on, and I looked at the blogs, the articles, because I was used to praises before. So I thought that I wasn't. I thought that I could. There were nice articles probably written about me, so I tried to dig up, but none came my way. So yeah, that's what I did. I read everything, and I became ill after. So I became antisocial. That's what happens to a victim. He becomes antisocial. So that was my first phase. No, I really didn't see anybody. I just locked myself in my room and left the country. In fact, to further isolate myself. I didn't want to. Yeah, my initial reaction was just to leave the country because nothing was waiting for me here anymore, and just to, I don't know, seek greener pastures elsewhere. That was what I wanted. Yeah.
But see, alam mo, Chris, ang maganda sa'yo, no? After being informed, now you're transformed. Diba? So in the end, it all worked out for the good, for the social good.
And actually,
Right.
the bashers could be converted into being your fans, even, or your supporters.
Yeah, just DM them, say, I'm informed na ako. Okay,
Oh,
ito
you know,
naman.
Chris's Twitter bio is the informer, the genuine. I should have been informed driver, and I just think it's a great example of how he made positive something negative, and may what happened to him never happen to any of us. But take your cue that I think, yeah, now you're sharing your story, and now when you search online, good articles will be written about you and good tweets.
Sige, one last question from the floor. After
Here.
you want to say something?
Well,
Marie?
I just want to share this with you because we did while we were all tweeting, right? We did just a scrape, and right just in the last hour and a half, we hit a spread. Our ripple is 91 million. From here, this is what you guys did.
Good evening. I'm Lian Cristobal. To Miss Maria Ressa. Ma'am, I'm nervous because she's my idol.
She won't eat you.
Ma'am, you said, in your closing, you said that, each person can send an emotion or a message, and then things can happen in the society, like, a gathering in the street. Wait, but it seems that it's only possible if it's the voice of the majority. But of course, there are opposing opinions. For example, on issues like the RH bill. How can we deal with those? If there would be various emotions, if there would be various messages, then how can things happen in this society?
Democracy is really messy, diba? It's really, it really is messy. And, autocrats would say democracy leads to mediocrity. But democracy is, I still think, the best system in the world. And where we are now is that we have never had as much power to have our voices heard. We have never been able to have people power the way it was originally thought of as much as now. This is really people power. Everyone in this room is a broadcaster as powerful as the networks who spend millions of dollars a year to broadcast. The gatekeeping powers of journalism is dead. And so that to me is the challenge now, is what do we do with that power? The reality is that if we don't collaborate, you can lose the power. The possibility of doing big things changes. So, and again, I don't think that just the 1.7 million I am Super Bianca is the most important, that you need to have 1 million followers. You don't. I'll give you an example. When Osama bin Laden was killed, the person that actually gave the news was not a news group. It was the neighbor in the house that was attacked. And he had less than 300 followers on Twitter. And the account that actually made it tip, that made it go global, was an account that had less than 700 followers. So it is still about a tipping point approach. Each one of us coming together and moving towards the goal. So I think the way you make it better is we talk. That's why we're here. We talk about the world we want to see. We talk about how we can create it together. And then if we can harness each of us with a 1.7 million thrown in, again, obviously, traditional power centers are still there. They can act as hubs, but they're no longer as powerful as they used to be. The 8 oligarchical families, no longer as powerful as they used to be. We are now in a stage where we can really change the Philippine landscape.
Okay, Maria, thank you for that question, Lynn. But she's your idol, right? Come on, let's have a picture. Halika na. Let's go. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. There. Okay, one, two, three. Yay! There you go. Give Lynn a big warm round of applause. Go, Lynn! Yan.
Okay. Let's give Maria, Bianca, and
Chris
a very, very big round of applause.
Any final words? Chris, Bianca, and Maria, final words? Some final words?
Bianca?
No, thank you everyone for coming, and I think you're signing up and being here at Social Good Summit is such a big step already in doing social good. And I guess a simple message would be, I hope everyone in this room never tires of doing social good.
Thank you for coming and for caring and for trying to figure out where we go next. There are lots of examples. #RescuePH, Tweet Up Manila, who's one of the organizers with us. We'll talk more about it, but we can do things together. And I think now the next step of the conversation is to continue the conversation online and in real life. And let's try to figure out, there's so many things we can do and help each other make a better world.